Hey everybody, welcome to the Untitled Themed Entertainment Design Lockdown
It's
Show.
been a long time since we had design in there. It's nice. Nice to have it back.
Yeah, it's hard.
Welcome back, design.
Welcome back to the show, folks. You got Delos. Let's see it. I want to see the show. Show the audience representing.
Yeah, representing season 1 of Westworld, season 1 only.
True. Have you done anything? Oh, you only like season 1. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Shots fired.
You know what? It's funny. Before I watched season 3, I went back and watched season 2. I hated it way less the second time. Probably because I, kind of knew what was going on, but a little bit better. But it was just,
Yeah, when I'm in on a show, like I am all in. I enjoy the different ways they take you, the different journeys they take you. Like if I like the characters, then I'm intrigued by it. But I don't watch a lot of shows, so I did watch Lost, pretty hardcore, and they could do no wrong for me. No wrong, no wrong for me. I was along it and I went back and watched it. Westworld, I was a little bit of late to it, but we watched it. Maybe about a year ago, and it was like we had another 18 months, the title card coming in 2020, which felt like so long in the future, and now season 3 is done.
Yeah, and it was fine. Season 3 was fine. It was better than 2. It was very different, just very different in every way, in terms of setting, color palette, and storytelling devices and all that kind of stuff. It was good. I liked it.
Well,
I'm better than season 2.
Representing with a log T-shirt by
Blind.
Nice. So that's what I'm wearing today.
Is there a log that you can visit at Nickelodeon in New Jersey? There
is a log. I should have. If we would have practiced this ahead of time, I could have put it up. Yeah, you can. No, I'm not gonna do it. You can find a log at it's fantastic. Yeah, like Zane Yench kind of like had the idea for it long ago, and I fought so hard every time it was about to get cut. I'm like, we got to have this log out there, guys.
It's a photo op, a little photo spot.
Yeah, it's the captain's log, so it's a pun, and it's the log sitting there on a nice space age type deal. So it's really fantastic.
Okay.
But we're not here to talk about that or Westworld or logs. We can. Welcome to the show, folks. We got a really interesting show. If you're watching, shout out. We'd love to say hello to you all. It's great to see everybody. Although I can only see you, but I do know that we have a lot of people watching, which is cool. So we have a host or a guest on today. Let's go ahead and bring her out. Why not? Boom.
It's me.
Hey Kelly, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
We'll pretend like we weren't just already talking for 20 minutes.
I'm so surprised.
Kelly, so we're gonna here to talk about walkthrough attractions, but we have a lot of other things to talk about first. So before we jump into the news, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction about who you are and what you're all about and how you got to be on the show? We would love to hear it.
Gosh. Okay. So I'll do the quick version.
As long as you want.
I can talk for a while because that's my first thing. I was a teacher for 12 years and a crew coach for 15 years. And so most of my adult life has been spent talking. I was paid to talk at people, which was wonderful. And then I decided several years ago, I was like, I need to go to grad school because, teaching was not my mission. And so I was looking at a bunch of different programs, basically like art history programs. And I was sitting on the couch one night, flipping through Instagram, and I saw a book. And it's a book that I have. It's a Native American anthropology book. And I lost my mind. I'm like, that's a very specific book. It's not like a Harry Potter book that everybody has on their bookshelf. And I'm looking at this guy's post, and it mentioned a themed entertainment MFA at SCAD. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? So I jumped on it, got applied, or got my application in, and that was 2 years ago. And I graduated May from SCAD with my MFA in themed entertainment design, working on my thesis now. So I guess technically still working towards official graduation, but my name was in the pamphlet and everything. And interned at Universal Creative, and now I'm moving to Orlando next month. So
So how did we get in touch?
You and I met at GibGab, and you were awesome. You were one of the like panelists where you were helping all of us newbies figure out like how to make it in this crazy world. And you were like super nice. You like invited us all to send you our resumes, reach out like if we had any questions. Like yeah, so many questions because I'm super green, super new to all of this. And then this happened because you and I are on another show together called So You're About to Graduate College, which we have another episode coming out Friday, by the way, everyone listening out there in YouTube and Facebook land. This one's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be so great. I'm stoked. It's all about museums. And the art history nerd in me is like, yes, museums. How can I get to more of those? And so yeah, you just like hit me up. We were like, hey, would you mind, or do you want to come on the show? And I said, yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay. Yeah, we don't have to get too in the weeds on that, but yeah, I texted you, hey, want to come on the show? Cool. Well, Kelly's amazing, and you do graphic design. That is your primary form of artistic professional expression at this time.
Yes, and I'm part of Slice Creative Network, which Melody Matheny is a genius and a wonderful human being. Absolutely. And I credit you for that as well. So because I would not have applied if you didn't tell me you thought my portfolio was there. So
yeah,
I appreciate that.
Happy to be of service and help you, Kelly. You're amazing. So you have a lot of experience in there in other different areas, like you said, teaching, and then now recently graduated, had that internship, and then now waiting for the next opportunity, which everyone can relate to that. This is a crazy, nutty time. Great. Well, we're going to talk about walkthroughs, but why don't you join us for the news? So there are a couple of important news updates, and Andy, we need to get some sort of news music. I keep telling you. We keep do that. So Andy, what do we got for the news today?
And well, I think a couple of things. I think earlier last week, Disney World announced that they were going to permanently close Rivers of Light, Stitch's Great Escape, and one more. What was it?
It was Primeval Whirl.
Yes,
that is.
And then I mean, it's funny, and I think on Ben's Facebook, I posted that GIF of like, and nothing of value was lost.
Yeah, I will say I enjoy Rivers of Light. I saw the original. I saw the Jungle Book. I saw the original version of it with people, and then I saw the IP-ified or IP-ificated. I don't know what there was. They had the Disney music in it, and it's a tough place. I think that they were very ambitious with the show, with all the different things going around, and I wish the creative team luck for what they're going to do in that area in the future. Obviously, it's a humongous space, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to have. But I was actually pretty bummed to hear the Rivers of Light. Personally, like it was a pretty. Basically, what I would do is go ride Expedition Everest, grab a beer, go watch the show, and it was just lovely. So,
well, the music was always great.
Yeah. And I know, and I know they had a lot of technical issues, and one thing is interesting is to like look at what was successful about it and what wasn't, and then hopefully they can learn from it. And that's every project's like that. So wish them well. Stitch's Great Escape. I'm a hardcore Alien Encounter fan, and I probably did Stitch's Escape once, and I know they had they had their parameters that they wanted to get a IP and a child experience in there, and I guess it wasn't hitting the marks, but I probably wasn't the target audience for that one. But man, I loved Alien Encounter. That was did you guys ever go on or experience Alien Encounter?
I worked on it. My voice was in it.
What?
I was one of the technicians at the end of the show.
What?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to do. Can you get somebody on here to talk about Alien Encounter, please?
That was 25 years ago.
We gotta know people who worked on that, right? We'll tweet it out. Somebody will come on and be like, "We need to talk about this."
I was interning in Imagineering in the AV department, and they pulled me into a session, like a Wallace session, for just general ambient shouting.
Oh my gosh. I for the first time I went to Disney World, I must have been like 12 or 13 because I was in the West Coast, and so going to Disney World was like, why would we go to Disney World when we go to Disneyland? And it was child abuse, and I missed out. Like I missed out on the original Imaginations. I got there, so it would have been right in Test Track was like kind of trying to open up, so maybe 96, 97. So I was like 11 years old. I was in Tomorrowland, and my family was like, "Oh, what's this Alien Encounter? Let's go on it." And the 11-year-old Patrick was terrified of that attraction. Like I was completely like, what the hell? Like it was traumatic to the point where I remember it, and like that is cool. I mean, I know maybe it needed to be a different park, and maybe it could be universe. And people, this has been said, but maybe a different park, different IP, and people knew that it was scary. But wow, they really pulled off every trick in the book on that one. Just really, really incredible. So I stand Alien Encounter. But Stitch's Great Escape, unfortunately, I don't know what's been announced for that, but I know that the next thing is going to be great. So, or hopefully it's going to be great. We'll see how that goes. Primeval Whirl.
I love that ride. It was just fun.
I have good news. If you like that ride, you can go to Fun Spot, and they have it.
Yeah.
So,
It's true.
It's true. It's true. It was silly and fun. It was just something nice. It just felt nice. I mean, it wrecked my back, but it felt like.
And the other item of news before we get into the main show, I think it was interesting that this last weekend, Knott's Berry Farm kind of reopened here in down in Orange County in California. So they still can't operate the theme park under the California rules and whatever. But what they did do is they brought in a limited version of their Boysenberry Festival called the Taste of Calico, where they opened up the Calico Ghost Town to, I think it was maybe 500 guests. They had, different kinds of food items and drinks, and they had some of the shops are open. The outside shops, there was outdoor eating, outdoor like kiosks and booths with local vendors, like selling honey and whatnot. I mean, Mice, our friends over at Mice Chat, micechat.com, took a bunch of pictures and video, and it was really interesting to follow along with them. And I think it was kind of a surprise thing. I think they just put it up and within minutes it sold out. And I guess it's also running next weekend as well, or this coming weekend, Friday through Sunday. But I thought it was interesting that they figured out a way to sort of like open the park a little, to have a little themed experience at least, in some way. So, I mean, good for them.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised that like Disney and Universal didn't try to take advantage of whether that's like they have massive part doing a drive-in experience, getting a big I know it costs money, but like, hey, charge people $10 to watch old Disney films in a drive-in atmosphere. Like that, I feel like that would have gone gangbusters. Maybe the there to make it, but I was kind of surprised that they weren't doing things a little more outside the box. I mean, maybe they're just trying to racing towards trying to get the park open, and that was what their primary objective was. But
they could even have like a car hop thing with everybody having the My Disney experience. They could have totally like loaded that up so that people could order from their phones, and then I don't know.
I can tell you that the car hop experience at Bob's Big Boy here in Burbank is not great.
Fair enough. So Knott's Berry Farm testing the waters, reopening kind of. And I feel like they've have a history of like sometimes reopening that area for some events because they can close it off at a few points. And Knott's Berry Farm is just really a great park. It's a great regional park. Like it's kind of like what a lot of the old Paramount parks and the old like before they all kind of got conglomerated. I'll leave it at that. But it's really it's quite a gem. Quite a gem.
I love Knott's, and when Cedar Fair bought it, they really spruced it up really nice, and especially the Camp Snoop area has been rehabbed over the last 10 years or so, and it is really a highlight.
Yeah, cool. So now we know who Kelly is, and we talked about the news. I think we've hit on the most major points. We know that Disney World's reopened. All the Orlando area parks are all open, and without incident, as far as we know. And we talked about that pretty lengthy last week. If you guys want to talk all about the parks reopening, Ben was on last week, did a great job of talking about that, which is cool.
Where did we talk about it?
Yeah, exactly. It was really fantastic. But Kelly, we're going to talk about walkthrough attractions. So this, we kind of said, what do you want to talk about? And you said walkthrough attractions. And we're like, oh yeah, we haven't talked about that. So that's cool. We're on episode 15. And we've talked about different topics every week. So this is great. So where do you want to begin? What kind of started you even think of walkthrough attractions? What was in your head?
Okay, so I'm going to throw this out there. I am so new to this whole thing that I didn't even know. Like, I know what the words walk through attraction mean, but before I started learning about all of this, I knew nothing about walkthrough attractions. Somebody said in one of my classes, they were talking about walkthrough attractions, and I literally was like, what's a walkthrough attraction? And they're like, oh my God, Kelly, you're so dumb. I'm like, I'm not dumb. I'm ignorant sometimes, but I'm not dumb. Like, give me a minute and I'll figure it out. However, what they were talking about walkthrough attractions, sometimes I don't even know if it's actually a walkthrough attraction or if that person's just dumb. So, sorry, that was me just being stupid. When I'm thinking about walkthrough attractions, stuff like museums and obviously like historic things come to mind. But my main like form of walkthrough attraction, and like if I'm just imagining it, is basically like the haunted house type of experience, not the haunted mansion, obviously, because that's a ride. Yeah. But and I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know where that comes from, if it's just like a carnival situation or, if there's something else,
Well, based on my very limited information about walkthrough attractions, on my personal experiences, and I'm sure Andy and I, between the two of us, we can probably rap about this for a little bit, but, it dates back to the early days of amusement parks where maybe you didn't have necessarily ride systems readily available. There were a lot of different walkthrough experiences. One of the earlier ones that comes to mind is just a fun house in general. So you'd have fun houses, which is a walkthrough attraction. And then you have one specific one that we're going to talk to. And folks, please just Google along with us because we don't have anything to show you. Is the Nilazark Attraction at Kennywood. So it's kind of like almost like a franchise. I know there was at least more than one. This big like moving arc, and you'd walk through it, and there's all these little random little scenes. Like there's animals, there's Noah, and there's like trap doors, and you climb up and down it. You go into like weird topsy-turvy things, and that is a walkthrough attraction in and of itself. That is a walkthrough attraction.
Yeah, I mean, and like the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland was originally going to be a walkthrough attraction. It was going to be that Museum of the Weird, by Relly Crump, and with all the like crazy sort of psychedelic kind of style effects. It was going to be like essentially a mystery spot / haunted shack, but Disney-fied, Rachel says, the House of the Future, yeah, and then even the House of the Future in Disneyland, when the big plastic house, that was a walkthrough. Pirates of the Caribbean was originally going to be a walkthrough attraction as well before they did. Then they did Small World, and like, hey, why don't we make this a boat ride, because we just had a successful boat ride. And Jason, I beat you.
Well, yeah. What's so interesting is that when the park opened, like Disneyland opened, it was pretty bare. So there were not a lot of attractions. And so This is all from memory. Fact check me, folks, but I know they had like a 20,000 Leagues behind the scenes walkthrough and
the actual sets from the movie you could walk through and take pictures and whatnot, and then that evolved later at Disneyland Paris into the actual, full scale Nautilus walkthrough.
That's crazy. So is Swiss Family Robinson? That's considered a walkthrough, right? That's like theme park wise. That's my version of what I would consider a walkthrough. And I guess the Tarzan treehouse or something, like, right?
Yeah, this was in California. They put the Tarzan's treehouse, and then they built the Tarzan's treehouse in Hong Kong straight up. And it's interesting because like you were saying, we've all kind of heard the story where they had this whole walkthrough Museum of the Weird, and then they started inventing ride systems. They're like, hey, why don't we put this with the Omnimover, which they had, I believe, the Adventure Through Inner Space was coming around right around that time, and so they used. I don't remember which one came first, so I feel not good about rambling on here without doing any research ahead of time. But and then same with, like you said, they were like, oh, okay, we have and Pirates was in the development and Haunted Mansion for a long time. They all paused everything to do the World's Fair, and then they had a boat ride. I think that was with Aerodynamics, and so they decided, okay, what if we try to put a drop on that? Went from there, and I'm sure there was all sorts of parks throughout Europe that had walkthrough experiences that we're not hitting on. We're coming from a very American point of view.
Well, yeah, I mean, and a lot of those walkthrough experiences in Europe, like at Efteling, has their big diorama. That's sort of like the giant train set. It's a big, huge diorama that you can walk around, which I love. That's one of my favorite attractions at Efteling. And then it goes even back further. That's where that comes from. Is these sort of traveling dioramas and cycloramas. A cyclorama is a big, usually a big giant painting, painting on canvas that you would sort of like walk up into and stand on a platform, and you could look around, and a lot of it was like like the Battle of Waterloo or other famous military battles, and then they evolved to have actually physical sets in front of the painting and things like that too. I mean, the diorama, the Grand Canyon diorama, in Disney parks on the train is a direct descendant of that kind of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quite true.
One of my professors in undergrad, she actually did like a whole set of papers on these diorama paintings, and then there was another type of like large scale painting like that, where they would pay a painter to come in and paint a landscape, so that soldiers could have target practice, like depending on where they hit, they knew that they could. It was wild. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing, but it reminds me of ooh, what? Sorry. Get really close to the screen. I'm glad. What the crazy thing about that is the dioramas and the cycloramas, those were like in the 1780s, 1790s. And I think of how far we've come in like 200 years, 300 years to now, like people are wearing things on their head to be put in environments. It's nuts.
It's evolved. So one thing I will say, so we have Nate, he's asking a question. Was it the same? So Noah's Ark, I'm going to show you what Noah's Ark looked like. You tell me. It was this gigantic whale you walk through, and then there's this ark is moving. I should have pulled more reference of these things. I'm sorry, guys, but it's really wacky and fun. Noah's Ark. So, Nate, you tell me. Was that you were working on it at Dell's? I'm not sure if it was. I know there was a water park. I know the Noah's Ark water park, but I'm not sure if they had that. I know it was in multiple locations though, so it's very possible. It's interesting. Toontown as well. There was a couple walkthrough experiences when it first opened. They obviously had to like pad things down. You had like the Chippendale play area, but that kind of gets into more like a play area. Goofy's Playhouse when it was a bounce house. I think they've taken a lot of those things out of it, but yeah, it's a walkthrough experience as well.
And Donald's boat.
Donald's boat, yep. Donald's boat, yeah. A little bit of a play area, slide area.
Were those just at the Disneyland? Because I don't remember any of that at Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had Toontown, it just was not that.
Oh no,
We
you
had
didn't have to, yeah.
Toontown first, and they had the sort of the Meet Mickey, character meet and greet that was evolved for the one in California a little bit later, just like a few years later, I think, if I remember correctly. And that's a walkthrough. You walk through Mickey's house, and then you go out through his garage, and you go to Mickey's movie barn, and that's a whole thing. And I was thinking of another walkthrough too. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah. Oh, go ahead. One we haven't mentioned quite yet, which is kind of what maybe probably one of the most famous, at least in California, might be the Sleeping Beauty's Castle walkthrough experience. That I think it opened a little bit after to promote the movie, so it's pretty early on. It's been refreshed and refurbed, and that kind of brings to mind they did a recent update to the walkthrough, and one thing that's interesting about walkthroughs that I wanted to bring up is kind of the pros and cons of walkthrough experiences, and why once a park's been built, you don't necessarily see them being added. So I did a Google of walkthrough attractions earlier today, and some con and about them. And I know for a park program, where when you're initially doing it, you want to have a pretty healthy attraction mix of experiences to ensure that you have things that everyone can do. It's not all roller coasters. It's not all dark rides, because you want to have a variety of experiences and different entry points for guests. But once you've opened the park, it can be hard to market a walkthrough experience. Like, how do you market Tarzan?
Patrick,
Treehouse, and they tried. What's that? Did I go away?
Breaking up pretty bad.
How much do I have to go back and say?
You were talking about in park programs, it's hard to sell a walkthrough.
Right. Well, in the initial, when the park is first getting built, it just makes sense to have that as part of your attraction mix. Then after it's open, the idea of having a walkthrough experience that you can actually advertise and open, that's a little hard. I think of a thing for people to do. So it's like, that's why I think you see it when parks initially open up, and then they might trail off, or they might not happen, or they might evolve into rides, unless you have in an area that's almost like one big play area, like Tom Sawyer's Island, or like Toontown, which is kind of like a merge of all those.
Uh-oh. He's been reduced to like 3 pixels.
I know.
Things. One thing interesting. Oh no, I can hear you guys fine.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, you're breaking up really bad. Anyway, I think what Patrick was saying, is like starting out with a walkthrough and then having it sort of often evolve into a ride as the programs progress and things like that, because it is hard to sell that kind of experience. But I think is he back? There he is.
I can hear you guys the whole time. I'm not sure what's going on, so I apologize.
You were reduced to like 3 pixels.
Can
And
you?
it was just like.
You're back.
I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, folks. I'm back. Hopefully, you can all see me.
You had a good one of me where I was just like.
Oh yeah, Rich mentioned Ripley's. We were talking about Ripley's before the show.
Yeah. So that's great. So what were some great other examples of the oddity experiences? You come on the show, Rich, and tell us.
Rich.
we actually, so we know we've covered a little bit of theme parks and walkthrough experiences. And Doug mentioned the Haunted Shack, which was like my favorite growing up as a kid. Like, and you almost start getting into like immersive theater, almost interactive theater, which is a really cool topic. But let's talk about like those walkthrough attractions. So let's say we're out of the theme park, and now we're at like standalone attractions, like Ripley's Believe It or Not. You have the Wax Movie Museum.
Uh-oh. I think we're losing you again, Patrick. But to address Rich's question, I think the oddities experience is it's a Victorian concept.
Things like that.
They used to have museums of the weird, like with weird, often fake and kludged together specimens of like a mermaid or like a jackalope kind of thing, or like weird like two-headed fetuses and all that kind of weird stuff you see at like oddities and vintage shops, like here in Burbank, like Bearded Lady or things like that, or even Dio Marcus and Co. Hi, Christian. I hope you're watching. But I think it's a long history of attractions with oddities, real and fake, shrunken heads and weird skeletons and things like that. I mean, it's been around for, I would say, a good 150, 200 years.
Oh yeah, I like the fact that Kenneth mentions the SCAD story. Yes, at SCAD we have our own walkthrough attraction, and like it's legit. Like they put some money into it. So if you guys are in Savannah, stop by and see the SCAD story.
Is it like a like the history of SCAD?
Yeah.
Told in tableau form.
Yeah, it's like it is legitimately like a walkthrough experience in like the historic buildings, in like their first building that they bought. And I say that they bought because they own like half of Savannah now. It's nuts.
Is it it's sort of like a sales pitch kind of?
I guess you could definitely use it to recruit students and partners, like business partners. I could totally see that being used for that, because we went through as students. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel extra fancy now. And I'd already been there for like a year. It's like, oh my god, this place is crazy. One of the things Rachel said, she was curious about the dino diorama as a walkthrough. Oh dear. Oh my gosh. If the guests are being propelled by a vehicle or power other than their immediate selves or wheelchairs, like how far do you have to go for it to be considered a walkthrough? Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
I think wheelchairs count as a walkthrough because it's it's an ADA thing. You're generally bringing your own wheelchair. You're renting one. You're only in a wheelchair because you can't walk through.
I wonder if they put like people movers all the way around, and you just stood on a conveyor belt and it just took you around. I wonder if that is that too far removed?
I would consider that a walkthrough. I mean, I think as long as you're not sitting, as a mode of transportation, like if it was a conveyor belt with stools on it or something like that, that's not a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crude omnimover.
TTA, different version.
Like a garage omnimover.
So I have a trivia question. We with somebody has.
No.
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
and we can see you.
You can't see. You can see me and hear me.
Yay!
All right, so that's great. So I want to just before we have somebody that wants to talk about haunted houses and attractions, and absolutely, like we're ready to go on that. We're ready to talk about that. But before we do, I have a trivia question for everyone watching. What was the longest walkthrough attraction in the history of theme parks? I want everyone to take their guesses. No, do not shout out the answer.
Is it like linear feet, you mean, or time?
We'll say time. The longest time. So I want everyone to start thinking about that, folks. And we'll see if anybody can get it. There's a little bit of delay on the chat here, but I think we have some people that can figure it out.
I forgot about the Magic Pagoda. Yeah, that was like a fun house. Asian themed.
That was like below the big tall thing. I don't know what they call it now.
The Sky Tower.
Sky Tower. That thing was cool. That was a great view. Magic Mountain's a really beautiful Six Flags park. I'd say it's my favorite Six Flags park, and I think it's better than Cedar Point. So as far as I'm concerned. All right, I don't have any guesses, but why don't we go ahead and talk about No, it's not a haunted maze. It was a longest walkthrough experience. Let's talk about haunted attractions while people wait.
Would you consider queues like for rides a walkthrough attraction, or is that part of the ride attraction?
The part of the experience, so not counting queues. So the experience starts.
Because I would say like the Dueling Dragons queue would count as the longest walkthrough attraction.
Oh my god, it was so long. I was exhausted. You have to get to the back of the park and walk through that queue.
Yeah.
Or the Flight of Passage is a walkthrough as well.
Yeah, Indiana Jones Adventures probably might be the longest queue.
And that was, you know what? That was a walkthrough attraction for a while. For 3 months before the ride opened, they opened up the queue and you could walk the queue up to the loading station and then walk back out.
Oh wow, did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. All right, I think somebody's going to be able to get this, but why don't we talk about haunt type of events, and I'll tell you the answer later while you're feverishly Googling. All right, where do you guys want to start with this one?
Haunted. Oh man. So wasn't there like a haunted? Well, I guess that's not really a walkthrough. I was thinking of like a haunted train ride at Knott's, like back in the 70s.
Well, it was like there was a train robbery.
Yeah, but I thought there was like they did something around the holidays that made it like spookier. I might be wrong.
Oh, are you thinking of the Calico Mine Train?
That might be it.
Yeah. Well, that's a ride though.
Yeah.
But like I think that the one that comes to mind is there was the Universal Monsters permanent haunted attraction walkthrough at Universal Studios Hollywood for many, many years. And they tore that down for the Walking Dead walkthrough haunted attraction, which is now closed. But I wonder what they're going to put in the place there. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, the Universal Monsters walkthrough attraction was great. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. They often had, depending on the day and the time, they had a bunch of, characters working in there, and a lot of great sets. Big giant Frankenstein's laboratory, double high set with all kinds of big giant scenic pieces and stuff like that. It was really cool. It was basically a really elaborate and expensive haunt maze that you'd get at the Halloween events.
Did the set pieces move?
Some of them had that Jacob's Ladder, like electricity, kind of, but no, they didn't really move, if I can recall. I don't think so.
I feel like the theme entertainment gods are going to be really mad at me. I've never been to Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, it's okay.
Disneyland, my first time ever was last year at Summit. The classic people mover, Emmanuel Bradshaw said. That's funny.
Although, yeah, the Alice Maze in Disneyland Paris, and the one in Shanghai as well. Oh, you know what? It just occurred to me. That's what I was trying to think of. Really, like one of my favorite all-time attractions at any theme park in the world is the Adventure Challenge trails at Shanghai Disney. It's a ropes course, very elaborate ropes course. That was the most fun I've ever had in a theme park before, ever.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous right now.
Full of excitement and peril, and watching other people seize up and get scared, and man, it was just so great. It was just amazing. I think we've covered it on here before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super jealous.
Shanghai's a beautiful park. I recommend getting there as soon as you can. Well, maybe wait till Zootopia opens in a year or so.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised we're not getting more guesses for the longest walkthrough experience in the history of theme park. I'm pretty surprised by that.
The trick question was it in a theme park? I'm trying to think of it without Googling.
Can you sit and watch something in the middle of it?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of things to do on this walkthrough experience.
Okay, so it's not Enchanted Tales with Belle.
No.
That's a lot.
The entire experience, which did include a non-walkthrough portion, was 2 hours.
Wow.
Is it Hobbiton?
It's very. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not remembering this.
It's not Hobbiton.
Operating?
It is not operating.
Okay.
I can't even tell you which park because it would give it away immediately. I can't.
Was it at Circus World?
What's that?
So was it at Circus World?
It was at a main theme park that everyone knows and has heard of.
Oh, it wasn't. It wasn't. Was it the show in the Tokyo Disneyland Castle? Oh, was I close?
Was it the? Did they have like a Arabian Nights type thing?
Nope.
Gosh.
I don't want the entire show to come to a complete standstill here, but it did include a portion where you were in a vehicle and then you got off the vehicle and then you walked through more after that point in time.
Oh, the studio tour.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. The original 1989 version of the studio tour, folks.
You got out and walked around, and yeah, that's true.
Half of the park was dedicated to the tour. You drove around in the back lot. Then you had several special effects shows, catwalk, behind the scenes, and then you went through where they were doing all sorts of animation. The animation part of that too. So that was really lame, guys. But I just thought it'd be fun to do that.
Was that the MGM Studios or the? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to experience it in its original form because.
Are you talking about at Disney MGM Studios?
MGM Studios, yep.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Universal.
No. So yeah, and then when the park first opened, they had all these backstage areas that they were using for the backlot tour, and then it wasn't enough room, and so they started opening up very slowly but surely, actually pretty quickly, these areas that were actually tram paths, But yeah, it was a 2-hour tour in total, with partially being the tram tour, and then you get off and go through all these special effects stages, and that is a walkthrough experience. I hope I didn't just make the show come.
No, but now I feel so bad because I definitely remember doing that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I did. I know I was there the year it opened, so I must have.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been the only thing you could do at that park except like one other experience. So that's fun. So now that I've grounded the show to a halt with my bad connection and my lame trivia question, I want to talk about more of the evolution of walkthrough experiences. So just something that comes to mind is we have like the Shrek adventure in London, and we have the London Dungeon, which are two experiences I went through, and it's like a blend of immersive theater and as a walkthrough experience with actors. I think that was really cool. I'm actually surprised there isn't one like in Orlando somewhere. There's so many random things in Orlando. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that. Merlin, it's owned by both of those are owned by Merlin or operated by Merlin. So it was a super groovy, just super interesting experience. And then of course you were talking about the Warner Brothers tour experience that you went through. What's that like?
Oh my gosh. Tell us. Well, okay, so you get on a bus, unless you're driving yourself, you get on a bus and you take the tour bus out to basically just the outskirts of London. And I honestly can't remember the little town that it's situated on the outside of. It's considered like the London metro area, but it's not actually in London. So, full disclosure. So you get there and you go through basically a nondescript building, and it says like Warner Brothers Harry Potter Studio Tour on the outside of it with the WB, emblem. It looks like nothing. Like you're just like, okay, cool. What's this? Are we just gonna, see a movie? It looks like any multiplex anywhere. And I'm not trying to undersell it. I'm just trying to prepare people when you go out there. You're like, well, where's the studio tour? That's the start of it. You go in, they have the doors of the dining hall, and they invite like children from the audience up to like open the doors of the dining hall, which is just magical. There are like parents, teenagers, grandparents, kids, everybody. There's tears, there's joy, there's like, it's nuts. And then you walk into the actual dining hall at Hogwarts, and they have, I believe they have rotating exhibits. So you might not get the exact same thing every time you go, but some of the exhibits are like the real set, actually everything is the real set and the real costumes and stuff that the actors wore while filming all of the Harry Potter things. And they have the platform 9 3/4 like trolleys that you can like act like you're pushing through the wall, and they have some really cool stuff. Oh gosh, they have like a train car with like a movie screen beside it, so you can get photos of you in a train car going to Hogwarts from wherever. And I thought that was really cool because it was before Universal had Harry Potter anything. When I went out there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then Universal gets it. I'm like, oh, this is actually a train that moves, not just a picture moving behind you on the train. There's other stuff there. You can, I think they have some like VR looking race through London on a broom, like where you actually like mount a broom and then there's like a screen behind you, and you get a video of you flying around London. I don't know if that's selling it, but it was super fun.
Shout out to visuals, folks, but it sounds great.
Shout out to our friends at Thinkwell for making that, designing that incredible attraction too.
Did they really? Oh my gosh! See, I didn't know. I had no idea.
So I think Cynthia Sharp worked on that project.
Oh my god!
Cynthia's and she. I'm like a really big fan of Cynthia, and I get to interact with somebody I'm a fan of, which is really great on a daily basis. Like I get an email from her, and I'm like, I said that. So we wanted to talk about a couple more things before we kind of wrap up for the day, which is like the advantages and disadvantages from a design aspect, in our humble opinions, of a walkthrough experience versus a traditional or one with an attraction hardware attached to it. Andy, you want to open with some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about, we were also going to talk about our favorite walkthrough attractions, and it made me think about what are the advantages and disadvantages, and like it made me think of the Movieland Wax Museum in Buena Park, right down the street from, formerly down the street from Knott's Prairie Farm. I used to go there all the time when I was a kid, and it was like kind of formative for me in terms of like, sort of like the potential of kind of themed experience outside of Disney. This like a bunch of dioramas and tableaus and scenes from movies and things like that, pretty elaborately decorated and lit, and with sound effects and music and things like that. But you could always walk through at your own pace. You could pass people up, other people could pass you. It wasn't like miniature golf where it's this pulse thing where everybody follows another in a sort of like a conga line, or like in a haunted maze kind of thing. But I liked that you could linger in the Poseidon adventure, or the like the upside down ship. I think it was the Poseidon Adventure or something like that. I forget what it was called. Or like you could sit. They had like a bench in the Superman's cave, the big ice cave. You could just sit and and it was refrigerated, so you could like get all cold like Superman and stuff. Like it was just great for kids. I loved all of those scenes and tableaus, and just what was around the next corner kind of thing. I always loved that. And you could go at your own pace. You could be there for 2 hours, or you could be there for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and one thing. So some thoughts come to my mind, which is that movies, and we all live in a dimensional, 3-dimensional world where we're walking around, and so a walkthrough experience lends itself very much for self-exploration and discovery. And when you're on a ride system, that can be pretty limited. It's a very different medium to work with, So when I think of the just like the Haunted Shack, which is really fantastic. I remember those memories, which starts to become interactive, immersive theater, where you get pulled out, you're walking through it, watching all these fun gags. And I have childhood memories of that experience. And it's this random, very, very rustic experience. And I have memories of walking through the Nautilus, which is fantastic, exploring at your own pace. And so the capacity and the throughput can be very high, but you can go at your own pace like we thought of, which is, I think, is a really great thing. So that was kind of a weird way to package what I just said. Kelly, what do you think?
I have two. One of them no longer exists, and it was Intervention.
So before we talk about favorites, what do you think are the advantages or disadvantages of a walkthrough experience?
No, I would agree that once a park is kind of up and running, walkthroughs are really, people aren't coming to theme parks for walkthrough attractions. They're really not. They're really great, for when you're trying to figure out what attraction you want for a place, and you're like, well, let's do a walkthrough until we figure that out. Because, you could do something like that really, instead of the ride system and everything that it would cost to actually put a ride in, you could do it for a lot cheaper, just to walk through. However, I have some really, really fond memories of doing walkthroughs with my grandparents, my great grandparents. So, and now my nephews, two of whom are like adult men. So it's, I see both sides. I see, the desire to have something that literally everyone in the entire family can do, and also why more theme parks don't do it. I get it.
I think what, like, the ultimate blend of the most popular attractions in the world is when they treat their queues like a walkthrough experience in and of itself. I'd put like Indiana Jones in that basket. I'd obviously put the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where you're going through Hogwarts. Like, that's next level stuff where it's the convergence, because it's so much fun to just explore a space that you know from movies or an explored environment. So I think it's a very powerful tool. And if it's a part of a attraction, you're getting two attractions in one, which is really cool. And you can market it, and people might not pick up that, oh, I'm going through a walkthrough experience, but they really are. And we know that at the Harry Potter, they had a queue, they had their own little lane just for people that wanted to walk through and not actually ride the ride. So you can eat your cake, or you can, get your cake and eat it.
You can have your cake and eat it too.
I get loopy at like we right as we get to 10 o'clock every week.
You can eat your cake, and you might be able to buy it.
Go ahead.
Outside of the world of theme parks too, we've seen the rise of these sort of Instagram museums, like the I Love Horror Movies that I went to last year, which is had sort of like a miniature golf model where, like, you would go through, and then as soon as the people in front of you were done taking their pictures, you'd all move on to the next sort of scene. For the most part, you could just bypass things and things like that. But I think we've seen that also at Downtown Disney in Anaheim. They had that for a while. I don't think it was very popular. I think it was probably because it was too expensive. But yeah, I mean, I think, and the Museum of Ice Cream Museum. I can't think of any of the others.
What about Sleep No More?
And Sleep No More, yeah. Well, that's like immersive theater, and that's like,
yeah.
I think that's a walkthrough experience technically, for sure. But like, this sort of pulsed, series of tableaus that you do in a certain order, at like an Instagram museum kind of thing, and thankfully I feel like those are kind of going away. I don't know if it's the pandemic or whatever. We don't, not allowed to be together in public. And I don't know if we'll see, will we see those come back? I hope not.
So I'd love to put it to the audience as we're about to talk, but so we have like Rich and Jason reminiscing about their Church Street days. So good for you guys on that.
My God.
I was not of age to do that about the first time I went to Orlando. But guys, for those watching, what are your favorite walkthrough experiences, walkthrough attractions? We'd love to hear from the audience, and then we'll go ahead and start talking. And then did quite well as others have a place and it seemed to nail it. Yeah. Okay, so Kelly, first to you. What's your favorite walkthrough attraction? Let's hear it.
Interventions.
Whatever you want.
Interventions, hands down, is still one of the most formative things in my entire life, and I don't say that lightly. Epcot is it is the nostalgia off the charts for me. Like, it was the first theme park I remember going to. I was there opening day in 1982. Was 4. I remember parts of it very vividly. And I love it. I still love it. And it did make me really, really sad when it went away. That being said, I'm excited to see what's next. I'm really, really excited to see. I think the Moana water experience is supposed to be walked through. So we'll see how that goes.
I love that Jason mentioned Puy de Fou. They won the I think it was last year for that. That looked really, really cool. We watched because I worked on the show. We watched a lot of videos on that, way more than just their video package that they sent. We watched a bunch of stuff, and boy, did that look cool! It looked really, really cool. Thanks for mentioning that, Jason. And Poseidon Fury, yeah,
it's fun.
Duh. I mean, how could we not think of that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oops. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there was one thing I saw at Summit this past year, and it was a interactive storytelling event that happened in Canada at Banff. Somewhere else. I can't remember the other park. It was 2 parks, the oldest park and the newest park. And it was legitimately one of the coolest things I'd ever seen I was like, this is life altering type of awesome if they would do this in American national parks, like the US national parks. You couldn't keep people away from them if they did something like that.
Oh yeah, Nate mentioned Meow Wolf. Yeah, I'm embarrassed that we overlooked that as well.
Oh my gosh, why am I so dumb? Meow Wolf, yes.
Yeah, that's on my immediate bucket list. As soon as we can go and return to public life, that I'm driving straight there.
And actually, on either this show or on Kelly R show, I'm gonna have Meow Wolf come on in a
Oh, Justin, do you want me to get Justin? I mean, I can't get Justin, but
I've been in talks with him. He's just moving right now. He's relocating out there for Colorado. So, but yeah, he's gonna come on an upcoming show. So Nate and everybody,
both shows. Yes,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And Rich Hill,
please, both shows. Absolutely. I've never been on a Meow Wolf experience. I want to do it. I will do it at some point in time. Yeah, I got a lot of Meow Wolves going on. Meow Wolf, Meow Wolf.
Meow meow meow.
They're gonna have a Vegas experience. Well, I won't touch on. We'll have them on. We'll get them on. Justin's a great guy and very, very big fan of theme parks. So it's gonna be fun to get him on. I'll get him on both shows. Why not? So I think there's another one. Halloween Horror Nights. Yep, it's great on a slow night. True. I love Halloween Horror Nights. I'm going to be very sad if it doesn't happen, but I will understand it's not happening because of the pandemic. Joker's Funhouse at Warner Brothers World, Abu Dhabi. Cool.
Yep.
Nice.
That's a fun, really fun funhouse. What's funny is it's one of those fun houses that you could never have in the United States or North America because it's so dangerous.
Okay.
I mean, I know that the first day they were open, someone broke their leg, a guest, falling from a height, because you would climb up this unprotected, uncaged ladder. You could easily fall just 15 feet. And there's all kinds of slides and really the full-on dangerous funhouse stuff that you used to see at carnivals when you were a kid that could rip your leg off if you stepped wrong or pinch you or things like that. It's fun and dangerous, much like the challenge trail at Shanghai. You couldn't do it anywhere else.
So, all right, Andy, what's your favorite walkthrough experience?
The one that comes to mind is a really formative one was the Movieland Wax Museum in Buena Park. I had a lot of fun there as a kid, very fond memories. Just like I said before, I don't need to repeat myself too much, but it was just I was so fascinated by the creation of these themed areas, these little scenes, these tableaus where they sort of did their best to recreate scenes from movies or iconic set pieces and things like that. And I just thought it was so cool. I just I hadn't seen anything like that outside of Disneyland really, and it was so exciting and thrilling, and and there was a sense of exploration of what was around the next corner, and maybe they changed this, and no, they didn't, but no, I loved it. I've always loved wax museums. I remember as a kid going to Madame Tussauds in London, the original one, where they had a lot more. They had the It was like I went to the London Dungeon too in like 84 or 85. I remember going to that. But there was this section of Madame Tussauds that was all like the scary torture stuff, and Jack the Ripper. I forget what it was called, but it was like a little like side trip you could take. Like it wasn't on the main thing, so like if you didn't want to see all the blood and guts and everything like that, you could bypass it. But I remember just like being fascinated by that too, and just all these gory tableaus as a kid. You're just like, oh, it's so thrilling and forbidden.
No, it's great. No, I'm gonna do two because I'm lame and I'm gonna do that. So I have two walkthrough experiences. One's not in a theme park, so both aren't actually in theme parks. That's the first is the mine, the coal mine at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. So on this experience, for those who haven't done it, it's themed as if it's a whole walkthrough experience / exhibit. You go down their elevator shaft to the mine shaft. You then get into a little train that's a coal train. You go around in a little circle to a whole other area. You get off and learn more and more. And then my next one is the London Dungeon. For similar reasons, you're in a walkthrough experience. You get on a little boat. I think it's a boat ride. Then you get off. You walk some more. That one's more immersive theater. Every single scene you're in, there's another character doing all sorts of wacky things and from the era and going through that history. And then it ends with the hanging, where you go on like an indoor like a free fall attraction where you're being hanged, and it's super ridiculous and silly. But just that like multiple walkthrough ride systems, like I want that to be the future of the industry, where you go through a walkthrough experience, you get off, go on another thing, getting immersive theater into that. We've seen that with Rise of the Resistance a little bit. And I think it's just where things need to go to get more realistic and get more immersive of like, okay, we're going to take you away here. Now we're going to take you on another ride. Then we're going to do it here. Then we go there. I know that we're working hard on things in my profession where I work. We're pushing for that. And so I think it's where the future should go. I think it's really cool.
Longer and more immersive attractions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Longer experiences.
Playing with ride systems is fun. Like if you have a scissor experience, that old scissor ride, that's one thing. But if you put that as a part of another thing, all right, cool. It's even better. Any other? Okay, we got the walkthrough haunted house at Liseberg is incredible. Okay, got to do that. Cool. Well, any closing thoughts, folks, before we wrap up the show?
I have a question. It's really more of a question. Would y'all consider the animal trails at Animal Kingdom walkthrough experiences, or is that more of just like you're in a zoo?
No,
not a zoo.
I think it's nice. I think it's both. I think that a zoo or wildlife exhibitions are walkthrough experiences, just like museums are. It's kind of like not all. It's like all rectangles and squares or something there, right?
All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles.
Right. I gotta stop doing these shows so late. I get a little silly. But yes, I would consider those kind of came to mind as well. And they are walkthrough experiences that lean into that. So Kelly, how can people get that's a cool, has a ball walkthrough mid-ride. I was going to go there on my honeymoon, and then my honeymoon got canceled because of COVID-19. But we were going to Bali, and I was going to drag my wife to go on that attraction. When else am I going to be in Indonesia to do it? But I think there's one there. I'm not sure if that's the same, right? Because there's a couple of those trans places. Cool, Kelly. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, drkbbailey. I am on LinkedIn, and that LinkedIn is usually the way people mainly get in touch with me. If you want to see all of my craziness, that's on Twitter. And then, I have a website, kellybaileydesign.com.
Cool. Andy, how can people get a hold of you?
As always on Twitter, make it cool. I'm trying to get more involved in LinkedIn, and so I've been poking around there a lot more, and trying to engage with people on there. It's seems to be a burgeoning platform, especially in these times where everybody's kind of looking for work. And as a freelancer, I'm always looking for work. So
very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I can be found on Twitter, Patrick S. Kling. I almost have 1,000 followers, folks, so I appreciate you following me. It's been a lifelong dream to have 1,000 followers, so let's do that. Bill, I know you just asked if we talked about Sleep No More. We did touch about it briefly because it was more, we kind of ruled it being a little more immersive theater. But yes, that is a great experience. So, folks, thanks for joining us. Come back. We'll be back Monday. Next Monday, we're going to be talking about cultural appropriation in theme parks.
Oh.
And to talk about how we can do better as theme park designers.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
That's going to be a great one. And yeah, Kelly, we might want to do that for So You're About to Graduate too. There's so much great content, but that's going to be a great show. We're looking forward to that. Low key flex. 1,000 followers. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kelly.
Kelly, thank you so much for being.
Thank you so much.
Kelly, you know the drill. Stay on. But for everybody else, we'll see you next time. Bye.
That's basically me. Look, it's me.